Rock made a grand return on Friday's episode of Smackdown to announce that next year's WrestleMania, which will be held in New Orleans at the Superdome, and then he invited Cody Rhodes, the undisputed WWE champion, out. He got a promo about wanting to elevate Cody Rhodes and make him the undisputed WWE champion, make him his own undisputed WWE champion. And he went on, and he went on, and he repeated himself multiple times. Rock said that he wanted a piece of Rhodes' soul. He didn't want to answer that night, though, as Rhodes looked confused, just absolutely stunned by what The Rock was trying to say. He didn't want to answer that night. No, The Rock wanted the answer at the Elimination Chamber on March 1st. Now, this was a very, very confusing segment. More on that in a minute. Now, Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful Select came out, and he had a report, and he stated that sources close to the situation told Fightful Select that the creative team was informed of The Rock's SmackDown appearance just days before the show, a development that surprised many within WWE. Now, the impact of The Rock's return on future plans is still being determined, and, of course, they had been planning to do Cody Rhodes versus John Cena for the undisputed WWE Championship at WrestleMania, and that had been considered since late last year. As of this week, the WWE creative team, they had been developing storylines under the assumption that The Rock would not be available for WrestleMania. A top talent even joked that the WrestleMania direction was at the mercy of Dwayne. Now, internal documents reflected the decision to remove Rhodes from the SmackDown main event prior to the show, and these changes came very, very late, and even those within the company are uncertain about the future direction of this storyline. Before we get into that, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe button. Now, there was a situation in which I think The Rock tried to make sense of all of this at the post-press conference while discussing the segment, and he said that this: I grew up in a world of pro wrestling. My dad, my grandfather, to be able to come back this way as the final boss and to be able to get into the final boss skin and to be able to become that in this venue in New Orleans and really take the audience on a fun experience and ride where I'm singing. I'm dropping the announcement for WrestleMania. Oh, and when the Saints, you can't sing with me, the final boss is singing. To bring Cody Rhodes out there and offer him a big ideology of, you are our champion and you are amazing, but I want more for you. At the end of the final boss saying, I want your soul, I think what that does in this wild and crazy world of pro wrestling is that, to me, it just becomes something that is unpredictable. In this world of pro wrestling, as we all know, everything will culminate to a match. Whatever happens, it will end up in the ring. What I really love about this rare air space that we've gotten to this character of the final boss, it's like the white whale unicorn, is that final boss in Cody Rhodes. It's not about the WWE title or having a match or punching or kicking or bleeding that is so part of our world. It never has to culminate to a match. That's a really special place to be in. I think creatively and character-wise, and how much fun you can have to be able to have a storyline and two characters who are very, very popular to never have to get into the ring for a match, but yet hold this really unique, compelling, off-putting, kind of weird, he wants his soul, what kind of does this mean? I love it, and I loved every moment of it. Cody did too, as well. We had a few tequilas after tonight, end quote. So if you're still with me, if you're still trying to figure out what in the world is this guy talking about, I'll answer your question. I think it's very clear. I think it's very straightforward. For months, it had been... So, step back. We go into 2024. Rock comes back. He blows up WWE plans of doing Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania. He wants to do Roman versus Rock. The fans push back. He opts, okay, let's do the tag match. So Rock turns heel, he aligns with Roman. We know what happened at WrestleMania 40 and everything that went on there. Coming out of WrestleMania, Rock and Cody do a segment. They set up a match at WrestleMania 41 with the working idea that they're going to do a match at WrestleMania 41. They both talk about in interviews how they are looking forward to doing this match. And then throughout the course of 2024, the narrative changes, and it's, well, Rock's not going to do WrestleMania. He's told them that he's not going to do WrestleMania. He then fires back on social media saying, don't listen to that BS. Then he randomly shows up at Bad Blood in October, does a countdown, and walks away while cutting a promo on Cody. Then we go to January, okay, where everyone is under the assumption of, okay, Rock is not working Mania. He'll make an appearance, but he's not working Mania. And, we're going to do Cody versus John Cena for the Undisputed WWE title, right? But then January 6th comes out and The Rock makes an appearance on Netflix. And he completely out of character. He's not the final boss. He's dressed like the final boss. He makes an entrance like the final boss, but he's not the final boss. He endorses Cody Rhodes. All is well. They hug it out. Okay, fine. Weird, but all right, we drop it. And then Thursday evening, Rock's like, I'm going to be on Smackdown. And everyone's like, what? And then everyone's like, well, what could this be? I just thought it was going to be the WrestleMania announcement. I didn't think that they were going to go necessarily to Rock versus Cody Rhodes. But then we have this weird segment, and it all lines up because it has been reported multiple times that this is the way that the world works with The Rock. If he feels like he can get into ring shape, and if he can get availability from his movie schedules, because keep in mind that it's very, very difficult for him to be able to shoot movies and wrestle at the exact same time. He has to take time off due to what happened at WrestleMania 29 years ago, where he got severely injured in the John Cena match, and he had to delay, I think it was Hercules movie. So realistically, he doesn't shoot a movie and wrestle at the same time. He has to block out his schedule to actually do wrestling, like a wrestling match. But if he felt like he was in good enough shape and that he had the flexibility to do such a match, then he would do the match. Well, clearly the man wants to do something. Now, I want to preference this. The idea that The Rock can just come back at any given time, it is starting to become an annoyance because it just blows up WWE's plans, and this was a bad episode of SmackDown because they had to make so many changes. They've got to fix this, where I understand that they want The Rock on their shows, but at the end of the day, you're at the mercy of him. I think WWE is doing just fine without The Rock, but like it screws over WWE. It all worked out at WrestleMania 40, but I felt like we went through a lot of hurdles for no real reason, right? So look, I didn't like the start of last year's build, but I loved how they ended it. Maybe I'll be the same, but I'm not so sure that we're going to get a Rock versus Cody Rhodes match at Mania. I really, really ain't, because the way that the Rock worded all this of like, well, it doesn't necessarily need to end in a match. Well, it's like, well, then what are we doing if it's not ending in a match, right? So I'm curious. We will see what they do, but they got to clean some of this stuff up. They really, really do, because it's hurting the product in the end.